This is the Real Footy Podcast. Coming up, the Bulldogs fall short again against the top team, missing the finals. Their hopes now hinging on an injury-ravaged Bombers, causing the big upset of the season over the Gold Coast. But could the Gold Coast possibly lose the unlosable game and let the Dogs back in? Meanwhile, the Lions beat the Hawks on and off the field in the race for Oscar Allen. All that and more right after this.
They've got a minute left to steal it back. It's tiny time. Leave it to me, boys. The adults have got it covered. What a mark. High, cover the square. Andrew flies off hands. Darcy Burn-Jones was it in the back. No, the tackle of his life.
Another holding the ball. We nearly record 11 holding the ball free kick support tonight.
How many times has Darcy Burn-Jones done something special late in games for Port Adelaide?
Bailey, the sidestep, Gunston the runner. Got it off. Wonderful work by Ashcroft. McCluggage, the impy tackle was good. Fletcher got it to Ashcroft on to McCluggage. McCluggage shoots.
Hello and welcome. My name is Michael Gleeson, and joining me today, Jake Niall and Caroline Wilson. Welcome to you both.
Gleeson, Caro.
Hey, Jake. Hello, Michael.
The top four is set.
It is a wonderful round of football, which was very fortunate for the AFL because they had a shocker of a week. We'll touch on that in a moment, but it was an extraordinary last round. And, you know, the Ken Hinkley game against the Gold Coast, as you said off air, Jake, a club beating a franchise. Hope you don't mind me quoting
No,
this.
that's fair. There is something in the game gets very scientific and in the end it's, do it for Boak.
I was going to say, I was at the ground and it was Boak game. It wasn't a Kenny game.
Yep.
The crowd warmed to Kenny. There were a lot of people that weren't that upset about Kenny going amongst the Port fans until the game unfolded. And then, any time Travis Boak did anything, and the lead up to it with him, images everywhere and merchandise, and it was a bit overblown, to be honest. But it was good. It was pretty emotional. People were genuinely, openly crying. It was
just a beautiful tribute and a fitting end, and then culminating in Sunday night. I mean, all of Sunday really. I mean, St Kilda had a genuine crack against GWS and looked like they were going to absolutely destroy them.
You've gone in sympathy with them in the black red one.
Just like the colours, Michael. And matching the age real footy backdrop. And ending with the Hawthorn game, the Hawthorn-Brisbane game, again, could have gone either way. Bulldogs, Fremantle in between. Extraordinary day of football.
Which also looked like it was going to be the Bulldogs looked like they were good things in the first quarter, and then that was just a blitzing second quarter from Fremantle. But we'll get on to that. We're looking, first of all, we can now look ahead. And the top four set, the bottom half of the eight will still be determined by Gold Coast, Essendon, and I think
you wrote about this, Michael. The Gold Coast will beat Essendon.
Yes, of course they will. But if they need to win by about 30 or so points, and it'll determine whether they finish 7th or 8th. So It will change who they play.
I think they'll win by more than 30.
Yeah, so do I. So I think it'll probably be them playing Fremantle and Hawthorn playing GWS. I think that's the way it falls.
If you're Hawthorn, would it be better to be playing GWS than going over to Perth?
Absolutely.
I would say yes.
But Jake, more importantly, because we're not quite sure about the bottom four, so the top four, Adelaide Collingwood will be a massive game, a massive broadcast game, a massive crowd. And for all the reasons of what's just happened with Isaac Ranken and the Collingwood player, he made the homophobic comments to the bad blood. But will Geelong, Brisbane decide the flag favourite?
Yeah, I think so,
and probably the Premier?
Well, the Premier, it all depends on who gets injured in the finals, really, the way these things work. But Brisbane do not fear Geelong, and Geelong will think they've had 2 losses to Brisbane and they will back themselves. They've had a soft run into the finals, but they don't have any injuries. So one thing about Geelong that's really positive is pretty much a clean injury sheet. They may start a bit sluggish. Teams that have had the soft runs often don't get out of the gate as well, but Geelong are formidable, and I think those two teams are the logical flag favourites.
That also made me feel even stronger about Brisbane, that they performed like that against Hawthorn with a weakened team. They looked without, Neil's still to come back into that berry. There's got some McInerney, Leicester.
No, Leicester was
Leicester
back.
played. Leicester
And
played.
you could see how much they've missed Starcevic,
Yeah.
a few weeks back. And I know I was a little bit disrespectful to Eric Hipwood last week. But, I mean, structurally they missed him too, and they'll probably miss him again in week one of the finals. Chris Fagan, I don't think we'll be hearing anything about his dislike of the pre-finals bye anymore, having won a flag from fifth last year and going into this finals really busted up. But he's right, Jake. I think with everything they've had against them, the injuries, the fixture, this probably is their best home and away performance in all his great home and away years.
Yeah. And look, but their best looks to me like the best of the... Watching that game, like that, the scores flattered Hawthorn a bit. I thought Hawthorn were pretty manful, but just in key moments, decision-making around with the ball and in the contest, they were just beaten. And I've got to say it, because I've not always enjoyed watching him play with his huster and bluster, but Cameron Rayner is a crucial player now.
Didn't touch the ball in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Not one touch.
No, I know, but gee, when he's so...
But that's what he does.
He's such an impactful player now.
Remember against Geelong in that prelim last year?
Yeah. Oh, no, he's a terrific player. It was just remarkable that he didn't touch the ball in the first quarter.
Well, he's a Mark Waugh, not a Steve Waugh.
Yeah.
Football is littered with players like that, and we love them. We absolutely love them. I mean, it was Charlie Cameron. That'll be a real boost for his confidence, because he's hasn't had a great season, certainly not a great few months. I think, look, they've been my flag favourite all year. Nothing has changed my mind about that.
No, me too. I had them pre-season winning the flag, and they still look like the best side when they play well. The thing is, the gap between their home and away performances, there isn't really any.
And the fact that the MCG is now a place where they normally win too, which it wasn't the case a few years ago.
I thought that the difference in the midfield was critical in this game. I just thought that it was Newcombe and not much for Hawthorn, trying to take them on. Warple didn't have a great game, I didn't think.
And Warple could be headed to Geelong.
Obviously the missing Weddle both really hurt the Hawks. So, and they went with the four talls. Mitch Lewis subbed out of the game. It'd be interesting to see if they persist with that through the finals.
Cal Shadir, I think, is going to be a really good player. Like he was smashed, really. If you sort of look at Harris Andrews, Harris Andrews is a hell of a player. Like there can't be a better tall back in the game at the moment, I don't think.
No, Sam Taylor's pretty good.
Yeah,
but Andrews probably got him.
Andrews as a
will he be
as a
those
negator.
the All Australians this week?
Yes,
Definitely
yes,
Andrews.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think both.
I think both. So yeah, but the other thing about it was that just Hawthorn were good, and one player that I thought for Hawthorn really stood up, deserves a bit of credit, is Ginnivan. I thought Ginnivan's goal at the end, like he did those two goals that he kicked, the one on the halftime siren and then the one in the last quarter, that gave them a realistic chance of pinching it.
Yeah.
I thought he stood up very well. I thought Watson, didn't do as much as he can, but he's good with what he does, the quality of his work. And I'm a huge John Newcombe fan. He didn't have a great game, but I think he's their best player outside of Day.
Ginnivan's been good because this season he's become that high half forward, almost quasi midfielder, which I didn't think he'd ever have the speed, and he doesn't have any speed. But I didn't think I thought he'd be exposed for that in moving up the field. But he's just clever, so he gets himself into clever spots, and he's skilled, so he can distribute the ball really well too.
And he's great under pressure. Nerves of steel in a game where Brisbane started out with 0-8 and continued woeful kicking all night. That was a tough goal on any circumstance, and particularly in that situation. Did the Carl Amon decision, the deliberate out of bounds, help decide the game?
Well, I thought Brisbane had the better of the game, and that there was no doubt they should win the game and win it by more than they did. I didn't think that was a great decision, because I think his intent was clearly not. It was a skill error execution. And so I think the decision was wrong. And I thought some of the commentators had that right, and some maybe didn't.
Oh, okay. I thought the game I was watching, they all referenced the Harris Andrews, probably equally deliberate a few minutes earlier that wasn't paid, and then Carl Amon was.
But I always felt Brisbane would win the game. I didn't feel like Hawthorn would go. I thought Hawthorn could even hit the front.
Even in the first quarter, it was like, okay, they've had more shots at goal. Will Jack Ginnivan read the room and not attend the races this year on the night before a final?
Yeah. I want to start liking him again, but I still haven't got over not turning up to that junior footy clinic.
I think
late last year.
I think the thing that came out of this game too was Hawthorn are one of the clubs that's most aggressive around Harley Reid, and they're also lurking around the Christian Petrarca situation. This game was confirmation that they need an A-grade midfield player. They don't have the firepower of Brisbane.
Certainly without
Neil didn't play.
Day.
Well, without Day, but even with Day, you would probably still need another one because a couple of their players were just not quite there against probably the best side.
But Brisbane also had a very young team. I mean, how many under-22s, 23s did they have? I know they had a lot of the guys who were experienced, but that was one of their youngest teams they've fielded for a long time.
Well, it helps if you keep getting pick 1 in the draft for pick 20 or something.
Yeah.
Well, not for much longer, given that the new head of footy at the AFL, who's been fighting for his club for the last 5 years, seems to have switched camps, Jake, and changing the rules any moment.
Well, a prominent Carlton person said to me, Jesus, I hope we don't get effed over by the AFL after they've allowed Brisbane these things.
Yeah.
There was some comments made to me. So anyway.
Well, there's going to be no change this year, and I think there will be change next year, sorry.
Yeah, there will be change next year. And
they've been warned not to trade future picks.
Yeah.
Or sort of buyer beware if you're trading future picks.
I think it's late to be doing it. I don't think they should be. And they still don't know. They've just been warned, haven't they? They were warned at that footy meeting last week.
Brisbane are going to make out like bandits again because they're going to get Annabelle on top of having the Ashcrofts. Now, this is I'm not – St Kilda are the wrong –
They'll have to pay more.
St Kilda are the wrong messenger, but their message about paying the price is correct. That is undoubtedly correct. Like, this is not a just system where clubs, including Brisbane, including Collingwood, including Geelong in the past, have gotten players far too cheaply, and it does shape premierships.
Well, St Kilda certainly aren't getting players cheaply. They're about to hand over 1.8 a year for TDK and $2 million for NAS.
I must admit, this being written up as a coup.
Yes.
To pay $2 million
for your own player.
Oh no, it's a coup. It's a coup.
To pay
for 2 years.
Let's just put this in perspective. Hang on.
A coup.
Hang on. They have just paid a young player who's their player, not a player from another club, $650,000 more than Marcus Bontempelli.
Yeah, but
for 2 seasons.
Jake, there were so many mitigating factors in this.
Mitigating factors from their own actions, Caro.
Yeah, all of that. But I don't think anyone, Port Adelaide and Adelaide included, thought that Izak Rankine Malira would be the player he is today.
But they caused the inflationary effect.
I know that they should have if only they could have re-signed him last year, but they were trying, and he had a very smart manager, and what a smart manager he's proved to be. Yeah. Had they lost him, it wouldn't have mattered how much they'd lost him for or what they got in return.
I think
that would have been the worst piece of brand management that St Kilda have had since they moved down to Seaford. It would have been all some of the things that happened under Scott.
When you say
that doesn't make it a coup.
Doesn't make it a coup. That makes it averted disaster. Yeah. That's you're talking about the aversion of a disaster rather than a coup. Keeping your own player.
Yeah, Ross Lyon said it would have been a catastrophe had they lost him.
He's right.
He's right.
And he was right. But I do think that the fact that he's showed the faith when he could have gone to the club he's got huge allegiances with, or a club that looks like they're going to be in the grand final premiership window for the next few years, I think I'm calling it a coup. I'm calling it a coup.
I'm not.
From where it was.
Not for me at all. For me, it's an aversion of a disaster, and the idea that they have the 2 highest paid players in the game is a bit embarrassing, frankly.
So we touched on it before, but
that's what happens when you're St Kilda.
Exactly.
We touched on it before, but looking ahead as well, Collingwood and Adelaide. Adelaide safeguarded top spot. Collingwood, the beneficiaries of Gold Coast feeble choking in Adelaide, find themselves in 4th spot. a position that, based on being up in the top 4 for all of the year, was probably not surprising, but the way they've performed in the last couple of months is a bit of a luxury for them. There'll be a bit of there's always spite in a final, and there's always tension, but the Rankin saga of last week gives it extra spice, that it's Collingwood that is their immediate opponent, that it was a Collingwood player that Isaac Ranken made the homophobic slur towards. We've trawled over it in many different media over the last week, but we're together again now. What are your thoughts on that, and Jake, on what Rankin's absence will mean for the Crows in the finals in a pure football sense?
Well, it's certainly, I can see why the Adelaide fans will be so incensed, because they are going to. It's against the club that benefits first from Rankin not playing is the club where the complaint derived from. Even though the way these complaints work now, I think one point I made in one of the pieces I wrote was that the cultural change in the game, to the point that once the complaint gets into the clubs, the people in Adam Kelly's position, head of footy at Adelaide, and Charlie Gardner at Collingwood, it's almost inevitable the players, by Saturday night, Rankin was gone.
Yeah.
The Crows were in possession of that information, and he's done for at least 3 games.
So if that's the case, why didn't Rankin put his hand up and go to his club or the AFL and admit it?
Well,
I thought, isn't that the whole point?
Well,
that
he
didn't self-report like Jack Graham did. Jack Graham took a week to self-report, but that seems to have mitigated his punishment by a week. So why didn't Rankin do that?
Well, he rang the next day. So the next day he rang the Collingwood player.
Yeah, but he didn't.
I guess what I'm getting to, I think by that point.
That was Sunday, was it?
Once they're invested, Sunday.
So why didn't he tell his club?
And therefore just immediately, knowing that you cooked,
so
on the basis of what you're saying.
Rankin seems to me, on what I'm reading, and I have spoken to people as well, but is it right that he has not spoken to his teammates? He has not fronted his teammates to apologise as a group.
Right. I think that's right.
That's been reported.
He was away from the club for a few days. So
he didn't leave his house for a few days.
Yeah, so I can't be certain whether he spoke to the players or not.
And he's landed in Rome on Sunday to time code this. We're talking lunchtime on Monday. So that's fine. He can't be around. He wants to go somewhere where no one's going to know him. So he's gone to Rome for a week, which sounds a strange thing to do to me, but that's fine. I mean, I would have thought there were better training, just as good training camps in North Queensland. But anyway, it's the fact that he didn't fess up to his club or confront his teammates is disappointing to me. Now, I know he's got mental health issues, or that's what we've been told. I don't know whether the mental health issues are because he's so traumatised by what he's done and the consequences of that, or whether he has ongoing mental health issues.
No, and talking to AFL people, the mental health, the submission, Andrew Dillon put this on the record as well, was highly influential in the knocking it from 5 down to 4. That was from a qualified expert. It wasn't simply something they plucked out of the air. They're able to say, here is what the history is. So
and is it also correct that he's done it before with Collingwood, which has also been reported?
I don't know that. It's been said, but no, I couldn't confirm that last week. Do you think that notwithstanding the veracity of the medical report on the mental health issues, do you think the AFL wasn't totally upset about being able to reduce it from 5 weeks?
I think that the AFL.
I think it went to the highest level of the AFL, the commission.
Yeah,
I think Richard Goyder got involved, and obviously the chairman of Adelaide was involved. And there was a lot of talking, and in the end, I hate to be brutal, it does become a negotiation.
Of course it does.
Well.
I think a really important thing for everyone out there to understand from my conversations with people around this story and around all of these stories is that the vulnerability of the AFL to a legal challenge in the Supreme Court is significant. Like this is not like the MRO where you've got an MRO followed by a tribunal, followed by an appeals, and there's
as they found out in the Essendon drug scandal.
That's right. This is very vulnerable to legal challenge. And let's just extrapolate this to Nick Dacos, say, or to Marcus Bonampelli, And if you had an aggressive president, an aggressive CEO who said, okay, no, we can't win the premiership we're going to get this down to 3 or whatever it is. I can see it happen. I could see it happening. And I think the AFL is very mindful of this. And that's why when people are talking about why did this take so long, clearly there was an attempt to give Adelaide every chance.
And they knew that he wasn't going to play.
And they knew he wasn't going to play the first week. So I think it's...
Having said that, it was a terrible look for the game.
Yep.
It became a saga. It should have been dealt with within 2 days. They should have been stronger. They should have, as they said they would do when they negotiated the last CBA, put forward a structured list of penalties. Now, I know that there's always nuance in those structures, but that was something they entertained and endeavoured to do. They still haven't done it.
Do you think that they don't want to do that because they want maximal flexibility
but
to deal with politics,
a year after
et cetera?
the Ken Hinkley, Jason McCartney
Yep.
debacle, they've done it again. They've done it again. Not so much integrity. Legal counsel has done it again. And I know that it was mitigated by... Well,
that's completely unfair.
That's not true.
Well, it was integrity and legal who were doing
but it's signed
it
off,
all week.
and it's discussed with Andrew Dillon and with Greg Swan. It is at executive level. The head of legal will make the recommendation.
And he recommended 5 weeks.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what
he
we
did. He
believe.
offered them 5 weeks.
Yeah, he offered them 5 weeks. But that
which
was an
was
agreed...
correct.
You can't say that, an issue of this magnitude is not going to be consultatively done in the executive.
I'm putting this squarely on Andrew Dillon. I don't think, by the way, head of footy had much to do with it. I think that was I don't think Greg Swan had much to do with it.
Come on. So you come in as executive head of football and the biggest issue happening in football and you divorce yourself from it?
No, not divorce, but I think they were all part of the 5-week recommendation.
Yeah.
I think
several of them.
I think it's better.
He was certainly across it.
I think it's better to understand this as per the Giants, which is the last big one of this type with the Wacky Wednesday. These sanctions are offered. They are not the final word. And there is, because they don't have very rigorous processes in these things, the clubs have got, everyone's lawyered up, they've got their KCs, etc., and people come in and they challenge it. And when you offer 5, you're going to, every chance you're going to get 4. When you offer 4, there's every chance you're going to get 3.
It's just a pity there's such strong precedents.
Well, where the AFL may have gone off the rails a bit here is that they went from 3 with Finlayson. Then they jumped up to 5 at one point.
With Powell.
With Powell. They've been, and even you could add Collard got 6.
But there were multiple incidents there.
Multiple incidents. You've got to look at that shifting sense of penalties. Whereas with the drug ones, like Bailey Smith, Ginnivan, it's 2 weeks. It's just standard. And there's no controversy about those anymore.
No, and their excuse for the widening is that if you're so stupid to do something like that after what happened last time, we've got to keep coming down on you, which is why Ken Hinkley got 20,000, the same as Jason McCartney, when really what he did was not nearly, I felt, as inflammatory or potentially dangerous.
No, you're right.
And that, I think everyone admits now, that was a major stuff up. But most people, even internally at the AFL. So it's so bad if you do it again, whereas drugs, I think they go, it's often a medical thing.
And the other thing that's really, I think, important is that what's happening here is players are calling it out where previously they didn't. And that's what happened with the racism stuff back in the 90s, that when the Long incident happened with Monkhurst, then there was a raft of these incidents.
So how long then, Michael, till a player's wife is shamed?
Yep.
When another player says, no, I'm not, as I think it was Jake Carlisle did to Mark Murphy a few years ago, and he never apologised. I think his captain, Nick Revott, had to apologise for him. And I think Murphy retaliated. There was potential, I think it was a free kick. How long before a player has a crack at that next time?
Oh, I don't think it'd be very far away.
And what does the AFL do then?
Well, they've got to do the same thing.
I agree. I'm amazed it hasn't happened yet.
You then get there then gets to the point of what can you say? What and this is always amusing to me that you say that was offensive. It's like, yeah, I know. I said it to offend you. Like that's most of the time when you're abusing someone, whether you're calling them whatever that's non-racial or homophobic, you're still doing it to offend.
Yeah, it seems like that if you offend in an identity about someone's identity, that's where you're seen to have crossed the line. Now, it could be something personal.
But not if it's your mother or your daughter or your sister.
No, I'm not.
Or your wife.
No, I know. I mean, there's all sorts of holes here in the way this is all adjudicated.
It made for a messy week for the AFL, though, didn't it?
And on Friday, they announced, we're getting off footy, but they announced Sharon McCrone, Stephen Brax's former head of media.
Brumby.
And Brumby as well, was she? But, most famous recently for looking after Luke Sayers when he hid behind a spin doctor, basically, after the photo scandal on the mobile phone photo social media scandal that ended his time at Carlton. So they announced Sharon McCrone is coming in to head inclusion and corporate affairs and move on to the executive at a time when they have no head of inclusion.
They also they announced Taryn Lee as head of, was it Indigenous? Taryn Lee's just been announced.
Yep. But the inclusion role, the Tanya Hosh role, is being taken over by Sharon McCrone, as is the media, corporate communications, etc. I thought that, Jay Allen, who sort of been running that for the AFL, last week wasn't Jay Allen's fault, but it sort of looked at the end of the week that they were almost seeking to make some sort of comment over that. It looked bad. It was a poor look, particularly given that Sharon's not starting till well after the till a week or two after the finals. I thought it was a strange announcement. But, bad week, saved once again by the game they all lucked onto, Jake, about 150 years ago.
Yep, that's true.
All right, we'll take a break there. We will have a deeper look at the other games over the weekend and a closer look at the games ahead.
We're online all the time. Just search Age Real Footy on Facebook or Twitter.
Frederick, an important grab and a quick handball to Bolton. Takes a bounce, drills the ball long, slots out. The Dockers will get it done.
Well, welcome back, Jake. In hindsight, we should not have been at all surprised by what happened with the Dogs and Fremantle, given the Dogs' year and inability to beat a good team.
Yeah, and a bit of an overreaction, including by me, to the disappointing performance by Fremantle against the Brisbane Lions at home. So Fremantle have ended up winning 16 games. They're a good side. They have progressed. They don't lack for many parts of the ground. They have a very solid playing list. They don't have... It's an interesting look at the two sides. Like the Bulldogs have got these super... Marcus Bontempelli, extraordinary player. Ed Richards is clearly very good, and Darcy's a tremendous talent. They've got a lot. Their top end is elite, but it falls away at the bottom, and they don't defend. They don't defend. Their back six has been a problem through the whole last 3 years of Luke Beveridge's time, and it hasn't been. Rory Lobb was not great.
He's had a good season, but he didn't have a great game. I didn't think Richards had a great game.
No,
Norton didn't have a great game.
No. Jordan Croft did. They've found a player there. Fraser, they've found a player there this year. I think he's a good player.
So is that list management, Jake, that they're poor? They've been poor in defence all year.
They've been poor in defence, I think.
Is that coaching or list management, though? Because,
everybody... It's a bit of both.
Sam Power's obviously highly respected.
Yeah.
And I think, they've got, as you say, their mids and the rest of them, their game is brilliant. So why have they not been able to set up a consistent back six?
Well, some people would say they could have played Norton centre-half back. Now, he's not a great kick, but some would say that. Others would say, well, he's had his best year playing forward. Finally.
Once Darcy came back in.
Once Darcy came back in. And now they've got Croft as well. Yeah. So I don't know how this is all going to play out, but they're going to have to reallocate resource to their defence.
Well, they're into Jack Silvani, and he's weighing up an offer from them, from Collingwood, and from Carlton. Now, to the extent that we acknowledge Jack Silvani's a key back, he hasn't played a lot of his footy there yet, but he did look good in that position. That would be the exact type of player that the Dogs should be chasing.
Is it the difference, though?
Don't they need someone closer to Wiedering in ability?
Well, yeah, but someone that's attainable. Wiedering's not available, whereas if you're looking at available players to fill that type of role as a free agent, not giving up trade currency, he's it. They also get Cody Waitman. He was a big loss for them all year.
And just a shout out too, because I don't think it's gotten much attention, but Alex Pearce's game as a captain on Sam Darcy was outstanding.
He was extraordinary.
And he is a tremendous player. And he's a player over here that I don't think is quite as recognised on the East Coast for how good a leader and player he actually is. He was very influential in that game. He may have been. I'll bet he gets coaches' votes.
We were all. Well, I tipped the Bulldogs because I thought they're at home. I thought Freo were just terrible the week before, which they were. Freo historically so unreliable in these big games. But then, I should have thought about the fact that the Bulldogs can't beat anyone above them except GWS, or this year they haven't been able to. They've come close but haven't been able to.
Were you struck by, either of you, by Justin Longmuir's confidence after the loss to Brisbane? He didn't say we might, he said we will win.
Yeah, and he said, look how many games we've won compared to theirs. We've won the same amount of games as Collingwood. He was extraordinary. And Luke Jackson, he was very strong about how much they love the coach, who this year was put on a rolling contract, which was almost like saying, you've got to make the finals this year or you're out.
He wasn't alone either. Luke Ryan, I heard on ABC radio after the game, and he was saying, he was swearing and saying, it's complete bullshit that he's being criticised.
Yeah,
he was right into him and just really strident in his support. And
what about
and
Luke?
Quite angry about the fact that people had been challenging him and saying, well, look at it, look at the number of games that we've won, look at what he's done, and if we lose, we're suddenly always slow. But what about all these wins? And
so Luke Beveridge he was also coming out of contract, and they did something different. They said they got to the middle of the year and they extended him for another 2 years. In my view, a mistake. I think he should have gone to Melbourne. Melbourne were interested in him. I think that would have been a great fit. He is clearly a great coach, but he's an impact coach. I keep saying that, I know. But I think that, I don't know if they were right. I think they jumped too early on Beveridge. I think they should have waited and seen how it played out. Because, yes, Melbourne were looking at him, but there are a lot of other good coaches around. The Bulldogs and that list could have got next year. And maybe he could have gone to Melbourne and really made a difference. I'm not sure anymore at the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it was an interesting call. It seems as though Beveridge has successfully sold the club, and Sam Power would be, and Amit Baines obviously would accept this, that they were in some sort of transition of the list. That seems to have been what the club has, and obviously Luke Darcy behind the scenes is a big Beveridge supporter. That seems to be what the club has accepted, and then everything that's happened flows forth from that, because there was always a chance that they would fall over late in the season. They still have a bottom group of players that aren't there.
Yeah, well, McNeil never touched it.
But he's in his 10th year. So it's with the argument of Beveridge is he's 10
I think he's
years
got
in.
too much power. I think
they tried to wind that back, Caro. And then,
didn't work.
And then it's...
And they're right back where they were at the beginning.
Also worth noting, because I've been a big critic of Oscar Baker, the Phil Malin of the 2000s, he had a really good game. He had a good game, and so well done to you.
Well done, Oscar. Michael, sorry.
No,
No, but having said all of that, they did win 14 games, and you're stiff to win 14 games and not make finals.
Particularly with that percentage.
But in a year when the haves and the have-nots have been so remarkably different, which is, the AFL's great conundrum at the moment. How do they lift the terrible clubs off the bottom? The Bulldogs are not in the top 8.
You know what, though? The way St Kilda finished the year with, beating teams and scaring the Giants.
With a coup.
With Wanganeen Malira, and then Melbourne at the end of the year almost knocked the Bulldogs off.
Sydney.
Sydney. So it wasn't...
Sydney, who had much worse injuries than the Bulldogs.
Yeah, and I don't see... Melbourne have taken a position with their coach search. They don't think they're that far off. I'm inclined to say that's a reasonable comment, but it depends. We'll get to that in a minute, but it depends very much on Petrarca and how they go with some of those older players.
Can we just touch for a moment on GWS, who were almost beaten by St Kilda? And speaking of great captains, Toby Green's last quarter, and those
2 marks.
Oh, look, he was absolutely brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant, but it took something, and you knew he was going to have to step up. They have been the flakiest team this year. I don't know what to make of GWS.
No, their best is right there with Brisbane and Geelong, I suppose. But they are hot and cold.
And there's a chance they could play Gold Coast in their first final.
Oh, they'll win that.
Well, they seem to always beat the Gold Coast. So
I think the Gold Coast will play Freo, though. I think they'll get to 7th. So I think they'll beat Essendon by enough that they'll jump above Hawthorn. So I think it'll be Hawthorn. That's my probably flawed reading of the ladder and the permutations of what's going to happen, but I think that's the way it'll fall. So Hawthorn probably and Hawthorn play GWS. I think that's most likely.
I reckon that's a good result for Fremantle.
Yeah.
Good result for Hawthorn too.
And a good result for Hawthorn.
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was St Kilda went out with a bang, didn't they? What, they won 5 in a row?
No, in fairness, I mean, I was just bringing the disagreement on the coup thing, but it's encouraging the way they finished the season.
Yeah.
And with Nasiah coming through and Darcy Wilson, who I think is a good young player, kicking 5 goals in that game. And, you know, they've got something.
Max Hall, I mean, they've found a player.
Yeah, they found some players. So it's not all, their list has been viewed as just not up to it, and they've had to be very patient. And they're starting to see some
True and Travalia.
Yeah, we're starting to see a group of young players come together, and that's.
It will be interesting to see what the ripple effects. We won't dwell on this, but presuming TDK comes in, what does that mean for Rowan Marshall? You know,
how strange was the TDK 100th game celebration? He was sort of thanking his teammates and saying goodbye.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't. It's been great, and
there's been some strange ones. It was
all
like
the best.
Remember Mick Martin's last game for Carlton?
Carried
against
off.
North.
Oh yeah,
please.
Played about 5 games. You touched on Melbourne, Jake, and they are searching. I've got some sympathy for the idea that they're not as far off. Like half a dozen games this year by a goal or less.
I think it's isn't 7 games by under 10 points or something. Yeah.
And against good teams.
Yep.
So
they just weren't consistent.
Well, but you sort of look at them and go, well, you've got Max Gawn, Pickett, Petrarca, Oliver had a good game the other night. May and Levo, so they've got all that there, and I think that you could get them back ticking again. That's why I actually think they played well the other night and shouldn't be a surprise. Like everyone was.
Max Gawn is such a great player. Like Darcy Cameron is a very good ruckman, and he was made to look.
Second rate.
But Max Gawn said after the game, we haven't had a coach for 3 weeks, which I thought was a bit pointed, or a line like that, and implying that he said new people will come in. That their leadership has been terrible. We've spoken about that a lot. And I know a lot of it's off field. And look, maybe I thought it was a strange thing for an interim president to sack a premiership coach before the end of the season. I just thought that was pretty odd, to be honest. But anyway, I
don't think it was just the president. I think it was the board decision. I think there were people who came onto the board who were strong in their position.
Yes, but I think that Brad Green led it, and I think the board's been running the club all year, and I don't think that's a healthy way to run a club. And I'm not saying some of those 10-point losses would have been 10-point wins with a better board and a better CEO or a CEO and, situation a bit more stable, but I'm sure that didn't help them.
Yeah, and I think Christian Petrarca is going to be the big watch to see what he does.
Stay or go?
Well, I think that's going to be the watch.
Well, he's under contract, but...
Well, what do you think will happen, Jake?
I don't know.
Or what do you think should happen?
I hope he stays.
I got a feel
for the new coach, and gives it a go with the new coach and with Max Gawn, and they have a crack.
I think if Buckley gets the job, and I think if he wants it, it's his. I think he would work well with Petrarca, and I think Petrarca would like Buckley as a coach, and I think that might influence his thinking. If they were to appoint Buckley in the next few weeks, I think I'd be surprised if Petrarca then can sort to go. But so out of the other night, what did you make of Collingwood and looking ahead?
Well, Collingwood were not convincing, and they haven't been convincing for some weeks. The only thing is when the game, a bit like GWS, when the game seemed almost lost, then they found something, and their ball movement, I was at the game, the ball movement on level 2, the ball movement suddenly went very quickly down the ground. A little technical thing about the way they're playing, they seem to have a problem with this front half game where they get the ball forward a lot. This happened against the Crows, and there's been a succession of narrow losses, including Fremantle, when they led by 21 points, including a Gold Coast, and including Adelaide Crows over in Adelaide, where Collingwood have had this territorial advantage and have not been able to convert. Whereas in the last quarter against Melbourne, it wasn't the territory, it was how they move the ball from defence, which is more what they're better at. And I hate to say it, the person most influential,
Jordan De Goey.
well, Jordan De Goey, but Scott Pendlebury.
Yeah.
And he took a few chances with kicks up the middle and balked someone and just made the right
Took the
decisions.
kick-ins.
But how
Took the
important that
kick-ins.
De Goey finally stepped up.
Yeah.
I know he's
Well,
been
it's
injured.
probably their only chance to do something.
Yeah,
isn't it?
because Pendlebury you can't expect Pendlebury to get them through the finals.
No.
They've lost Jeremy Howe again. It doesn't look like if he does play,
It's pretty
weeks
dim at
away.
best, yeah.
Yeah,
If they're there.
he just keeps his body keeps failing him at the end of games.
Bobby Hill
And
looks
Bobby
like he
Hill
won't be
back.
there.
No, he won't be back. So, I mean, the step up of De Goey was the biggest positive.
Yeah.
And probably the loss of Howe. I know they've got a good record at Adelaide Oval, but gee, it's a tough ask.
Yep.
McStay took an important mark and kicked a goal, which was good. He's needed to. He's been poor. Their key forwards have all struggled. Membry needs to be played as the third tall forward that can get out into space. And Mychek, as is often the case for him at this time of year, he's a bit beaten up.
Is Mason Cox going to retire this year?
I would have thought so.
Yep.
Retire? Does anyone retire?
Oh, well, yeah, some players decide to retire.
Travis Boak did.
Both did, but there's not many players. There's not many players. Not many players actually retire.
Oh, well, is he finishing up this year? Is that the expectation?
Well, unless someone, it's a bit like Todd Goldstein. You sort of expect him to, but then someone might just need a second ruck or a relief ruck or a backup ruck, and
Fair enough.
There aren't too many 7 foot tall blokes going around. So
Another team who finished with a bit of positivity was North Melbourne.
yeah,
They kicked over 100 points against a team who was a premiership favourite a couple of weeks ago.
Well, this is what they should be.
Yep.
What they've shown the last couple of weeks is what North should be, and they're right to demand better performances with LDU, Sheasel, the young talent that they've accumulated over this long period of being no good, should see them being pretty competitive most weeks.
they're climbing up the ladder. They're third bottom this year.
No, it should be happening. Like,
No, they've had a disappointing season.
Yep.
And just a word on Alistair Clarkson. Back in the box, Alistair. I mean, the lip readers would have had a field day with some of the stuff he was directing at the umpires or the officials bench. Anyway.
It's kind of a good sign in a way. It's sort of back to the old Al, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. But
Speaking of which,
world's
you also- you
changed,
didn't
as we know,
like,
Jake.
We'll keep this quick, but you didn't like Damien Hardwick's comments about the umpires after the
No.
thing again.
Well, I mean, he's probably right.
He was right.
But what did Sam Mitchell say about the Amon decision? We made more mistakes than the umpires did
Yeah,
tonight.
but it
There's
wasn't 33 to
graciousness
16.
and there's non-graciousness.
Yeah, I felt
That
at
is
the
not
ground.
the
I felt there was a home
Excuse me,
ground,
I read your column. That's
Yeah.
not the reason they lost.
and I made that point.
Mm.
But it was certainly a factor in the game. There was
Look, the world's changed. 10
That-
years ago, you would have been fined for those comments. The AFL seem to turn a blind eye to them now at a time they're trying to get umpires into
Can
the
we
game.
not be mature enough to know that umpires are also figures within what happens in the game of footy?
You've had an embarrassing loss.
It was an embarrassing loss.
That is not the time to make those comments.
Well, he was asked about it, but he
Yeah, well,
it was
and
a
so
shocking.
was Sam
that was a
Mitchell,
bad
and he
decision.
gave the
one
right
that-
answer.
Georgiades for the McAndrew one was a really bad decision, and yeah, we'll take a break there. Come back with quick questions.
Get access to every episode as it drops. Hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Maynard found Frampton. Now McCreary got the strength advantage on Salem and the speed as well. Runs to the 50, kicks to Elliott's. Outstanding Collingwood. Blink of an eye football. One end to another.
Well, welcome back. Straight into quick questions. One for you, Caro. Which club outside the top four do you fancy most for winning the premiership?
Ooh, Hawthorn.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jake?
Fremantle.
GWS for me. And there we go.
Makes it
All
exciting.
Yeah. Where do you think Ken Hinkley will bob up next, given his, love affair with Port Adelaide and his declaration of love for Port Adelaide?
If I had to call it now, I would say Brisbane, because I feel that Danny Daly's on the move. And I'm not saying he's going to be head of footy at Brisbane, and I'm not saying Danny Daly will definitely move, but all clubs have got more money in their soft cap now. And I think he has a great relationship with Chris Fagan. So but look, otherwise it'll be a club in Melbourne.
Jake?
I'm not going to pretend that I know,
Yeah.
but if I'm playing a bet, I'd say Carlton.
Yeah, I think he was reluctant. I'd be surprised if
We
he went
asked
to
him
Carlton.
about that and he said no.
Yeah.
But,
I think going
yeah.
to coach sort of almost
Working under someone
that
he's
you
worked
coach,
over, he would struggle with.
Yeah. End of the season now. So rising star, which will be announced on Brownlow night this year, I think, rather
Yes.
than the All-Australian night.
Yes.
Who do you fancy for it?
I started with Will Ashcroft. There's a few other
Levi.
candidates. Sorry, Levi Ashcroft. Goodness me.
They do get it.
The guys with the long hair.
Yeah.
Will was robbed by Harry Sheasel, in my view, 2 years ago.
Yeah, look, I'll go with Levi.
Yep, Levi. He's just been so consistent. He hasn't been the best. I mean, we've seen better from Reid and Curtin, but we've not seen the consistency of Levi Ashcroft. He's been extraordinary. Moved to half forward when he's a midfielder. I think he's been great.
I'm going Curtin, and though I did love the goal of Murphy Reid's, the fourth goal in their 7-goal quarter in the second quarter, when he just bounced out of half back, ran basically 3/4 of the length of the ground and kicked the goal. It was mature, and he's a star. So, but I think Dan Curtin moving up on a wing, he's sort of like Bontempelli style player. He could be anything. So I'd go with him. Anyway, that is all we've got time for this week. Thanks to you both for joining us, and thanks also to Channel 7 and Fox Footy for the audio we've used in this episode. If you'd like to get in touch, you can do so via email, realfootypod@theage.com.au. And don't forget to subscribe, rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. There won't be an Expert Tips podcast this Thursday, as there's no games. We'll see you again next Monday.